Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the May 20th, 2025 meeting of the Douglas Board of Selectmen. If we could stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I know Les was on business travel and thought maybe he would zoom in, but it doesn't appear that he has. So I will, again, welcome everyone to our meeting. Is there anyone that would like to speak to something that's currently not on the agenda? Seeing as none, I'd move to item number 5, is the reorganization after the most recent election. How we can do this, I suppose, is just push this off until we have a full board, unless there's people that feel strongly. You good with that, Ross?
Yeah, that's fine.
Mike?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
By the way, congratulations to Les and Tim on being reelected for.
It was a hard-fought battle. They were able to pull it off. It was
Just
tight race.
up the blood now.
Yeah, you can only beat the people in front of you. That's how I'll stay with that. All right, so we'll skip over number 5. Item number 6 is a joint meeting with the Housing Authority. If you gentlemen would like to come forward, good evening.
Chair.
All right, Housing Authority prime time.
They got to call it.
Yeah.
All right, so call the Housing Authority meeting open.
Okay. And we are here for what purpose?
We have a member seat to fill. Is that what it was?
And that would be you, Mr. Preston?
Hey.
How are you? I'm good, thank you. Is there a backdrop to this story that we want to get into, or we just want to act decisively?
I think you just act decisively. This was left off the ballot, but you still have the opportunity under Massachusetts general laws to fill a vacancy until the next election.
That is what we're doing. So, Mr. Preston, you want to serve on this Housing Authority?
Yes.
And we thank you for that. Are there any questions of Rich, who serves on strategic planning and probably a number of others throughout
Yeah,
the
been
years?
selectman and
Yeah,
knows his way around the town, I would
yeah.
say.
So who are we? Who are we to
More
halt?
notorious and notable, I'm told.
No, no, you've done a good job herding those cats on that larger committee. It's not easy, but yeah, you move it along great. So, any questions for Rich?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to appoint Rich Preston to the Housing Authority.
Second.
Would that be for a term of 3 years?
I'm not sure.
Probably
That's
just
Lisa.
until the next election.
Yep.
I would think next election.
Does that, is it an alternating
Yeah.
seat? So,
Here, I gotta look. You have it in your packets as well.
Probably.
You do.
oh, we're supposed to read the packets?
It may be till the next election.
I think it has to be. We can't appoint for 3.
I can check that with the
It's until the
clerk.
next
Till
election.
Yeah.
such election, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So, till next election.
So if Mike amends that motion,
Till the next election.
second by Hal, we'll do a roll call vote.
Smith, aye?
Davis, aye.
Bone and I.
Fitzpatrick, aye.
Peter East, aye.
Very good.
There it is.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
I
Just
I do have a
adjourn the meeting when you're
question.
done.
Sure.
It's my understanding it's actually 5 members of the Housing Authority. 3 appointed or elected in the town. 1 is appointed by the governor, and a 5th is appointed by a tenant representative. We don't have any public housing in town. I don't know if we're going to have any public housing, so you can apply for a waiver, and that's a year-to-year thing. But the concern is that you actually need 3 for a quorum, and we have that, but just 3. Now, on the state website, it said that there isn't an opening for the governor's appointment for Douglas. So I didn't know if anyone, either of you gentlemen were appointed by the governor or by the...
Nope.
Okay. So,
we may look into that.
Screwed up.
Yeah, we may
Well,
look into
yeah, it
that.
could be his first act as a newly appointed member of that housing committee to take that task up, no?
If my reading of the statute is correct, should the governor, should the state agency fail to appoint, then the select board shall appoint. And we would fill it under section 40, chapter 41, section 11, just like we did tonight. So if the three of you could find someone who wanted to serve, the select board could fill that seat.
okay.
So you'd have 4.
All right. And
You're
beyond
never going to
that,
get the 5th, so
it'd be nice to have 4,
Yeah.
practically
Yeah.
speaking, if someone can't make it. And beyond that, obviously, we don't have any public housing. I don't know if we want public housing. That's a big step. But I think we can look at some of the housing needs in town. We used to have an HPP. What is that? A lot of initials.
Housing production.
Housing production plan, thank you. That's why you're in that seat, right? Housing production plan, thank you. And what that is, that's a study of the town, of your housing needs. Once you go through that study, which includes needs, goals, and strategies, and you can actually use part of the master plan as that, part of the housing element, you can use that as the basis for it. If you put that plan together and submit it to the state, and it's accepted, that's part one. Part two is, after a year or so, if you're able to meet the requirements and add at least 0.5 or 1% of affordable housing, which comes out to a couple units, you can be certified by the state. Once you're certified by the state, then the ZBA, they'll issue a comprehensive permit, but the ZBA is not required, once you're certified, to approve a comprehensive permit, because we'll have already met our needs technically. So they call it a good harbor type of situation. So if we can meet that criteria, we'll be back in the driver's seat, and within that plan, we can decide what we want to do in terms of affordable housing, low income, moderate income, people with disabilities, retirees, what have you, instead of others deciding where and when and how and when it's designed. Right now, I think we need to meet 10%. We're at about, technically the state thinks we're at 4.5%, but that may change because all our affordable housing, the information they get from us. So I think we probably need to assess what's out there. I think the numbers are low. There's probably more out there than we think. That might be the first thing, is to assess all the low and moderate income housing that's out there and submit that to the state so we can get those numbers up. But it's a start, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Start is helpful. You guys haven't been particularly busy, and you know, maybe with Rich's engagement here, then we can move a needle. But cool. Thank you again for serving Rich and for you guys for
Mr. Chairman,
stepping forward. Sure.
if I might, I think one of the things that really hampers low-income, moderate housing development is the way we've always done it. And the formula that people have used has led to, in many cases, unattractive, difficult developments that are either outside of the range of public supports in the form of transportation or other amenities that would make it attractive to live there. And our flex development zoning bylaw doesn't push the needle far enough in the direction of being able to build even closer, tighter densities. But on the flip side, if you had an overlay or some other zoning requirements that said you can't just do that, you have to have, you're going to have X number of units, you need to have a playground. You have an X number of units, you have to have open space where people can recreate. If we were able to be more thoughtful about, more demanding of developers, but gave them the density bonus so that the economics would work on the development, we'd push the needle. 40B is a joke. The idea that we only have to have one out of every however many units. So we have this
25%.
enormous development at North Village. And we're really not providing very much moderate to low-income housing in the town.
In some ways, we're losing ground. We're chasing our
That's
we're chasing our
actually what
tail.
happens.
Yeah.
Because the condos are now selling for like,
The affordables are around
the
300,000,
affordables are 300,000, but most of them are market, and they're,
but the other ones are 5.
yeah.
So we have another 40B coming down the pike,
Possibly.
Southeast Main Street. I guess it's not really water and sewer to support a project like that.
There's a few different issues with that. There's definitely no water and sewer. Well, technically, there's a hydrant in the street, but there's not enough volume or pressure to support that.
It makes a noise.
There's no sewer up there. The hydrant right in front of the property ironically says out of order on it, but
So the HPP plan is what they call a good harbor. You've heard of that. But there are other good harbor programs too. Like if you do a project that takes up 10 acres or more, you can have that window. Or if it's more than all the housing is more than 1.5% of the total land area of town. So there are other things that can be looked at that we may be able to use so that we would have that protection, so that we'd be back in the driver's seat when it comes to these proposals.
The key would be to drive the definition of the land in the town, with or without the state forest.
right. What do they
That
got,
changes the math,
45%?
that turns the math on its head.
Yeah.
So we got some work to do, but clearly, putting an ADU on every single lot or having 40B comp permits may not be a good solution for the town of Douglas. So you can be in the driver's seat from the very beginning if we think more creatively about flex development and try to get to a safe harbor that way. Thank you for stepping up. Preston, and
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you.
Move to close the Housing Authority meeting?
Second.
Take a vote on it. You all set?
Aye.
Aye.
You're good to go.
Done.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, they'll bounce just a little bit, being cognizant of people's time. Item number 10 is an introduction to someone who will be very important into our community. John, come on up, come forward. Welcome to Douglas.
Thank you. Good evening.
So my understanding is you went through a rigorous job interview process.
Yeah.
We beat you up pretty good, and you're still here.
Yeah.
So for those at home not looking at my notes, John was recently appointed via Matt and the board's blessing, I believe, as the Community Development Director. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It's a close-knit team here. I think you're going to find the quality of life is second to none, and the commute's going to be great. But tell us a little bit about yourselves. For the
So I was born and raised in the Woonsocket, North Smithfield area, kind of back and forth. Born in Woonsocket, moved to North Smithfield, went to Mount St. Charles, so back and forth between the communities. But I've spent my entire career in Massachusetts. My first opportunity is back in 1998 with the City of Brockton, so I had to relocate there for a short time while I worked for the City of Brockton. But you're right, I'm used to long commutes. Obviously, Rutland is a fairly long commute, so yeah, it'll be new to have a commute of 23 minutes like it was tonight. It's going to be refreshing. But yeah, interesting conversation that's going on about the HPP and 40B, and I agree with what Matt said about Chapter 40B. Another reason Chapter 40B is a joke, as you put it, is years ago when I was in the town of Wareham, CHAPA, which is one of the state agencies that actually monitors and manages 40B developments in towns, they monitored several developments in Wareham at the time, and they came to the ZBA and were asked point blank, do you actively monitor your units that you approved? And they said no. We can't. When someone sells an ownership unit, for instance, we count on them to communicate with us and let us know that they're about to sell, and then we tell them what restrictions they fall under. So that's another challenge of 40B, is monitoring the ownership units, because what happens in that case is, you have a subdivision with single-family homes and a handful of affordable. Someone doesn't realize the restrictions they're under for how much profit they can make when they sell their house and other things. They go ahead and sell it for more than they're allowed to, and then what happens is now the town has to spend legal resources to chase it and get the money back, but then the unit falls off the SHI. So to Matt's point, the 10% is a constantly moving target that causes a lot of headaches for communities to maintain, because obviously every time you have a residential subdivision going in market rate, that knocks you back. So it's almost, you try to have a buffer. Like when I was in Stoughton, we were up at 11.3, then you get a significant subdivision, you're right down to 10% again. So yeah, it's a frustrating thing. And, with the ADUs, one thing that the state didn't propose is that this new ADU regulation doesn't include an affordability component requirement. So they call it the Affordable Homes Act, but there's no language in there that requires any affordability component, which is a little bit frustrating.
So then your housing stock number just keeps going up?
Correct.
But you're not getting any.
Correct. Yeah, and even with rental units, 100% of the rental units count towards your SHI, but they don't all have to be affordable. Only 25% have to be affordable. So yeah, it's a frustrating goal to try and reach and maintain. But I do notice that Douglas is fortunate where the vast majority of your units are protected in perpetuity. So that's good, because a lot of towns, they expire after a certain amount of time, and you have to worry about that. So at least the units that Douglas has on the SHI are not going anywhere, so that's an advantage.
Would you agree that there's probably more out there that might contribute to our current 4.5%?
Potentially.
Yeah.
But you have to go through that process, and they have to be certified by the state. That was one of the main arguments when 40B was passed, is how come certain developments that are already in existence can't count towards the SHI? If that is what the state is really interested in, is providing affordable housing and a variety of housing, how come it's so hard to get units on the SHI, but so easy for them to fall off the SHI? That's, again, there are a lot. I was told years ago by a few people that they believed that Chapter 40B was pushed through by lobbyists for the construction industry as a way to bypass local zoning. I don't know how true that is, but there are some opinions out there that believe that.
Is there a situation where you would mix over 55 with 40B?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a need for it.
Well, there's definitely a need for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for it, absolutely. Rutland, where I just was, had an opportunity on the old Rutland Heights property, old hospital property, where they're currently under construction for a duplex, 144 units, duplexes on one of the properties at the old hospital site. And the RDIC, the Rutland Development Industrial Corporation, manages that property, and they're the ones who approved the development on that property. And they approved it, but they didn't have an affordability component to it. So as a result, they have over 55 duplex units that are selling for $450,000, $500,000. And therefore, they're not selling very well as they're constructed, because they're expensive, and the center of Rutland doesn't have much within walking distance. So yeah, absolutely, I think there's a need for affordable senior housing, veteran housing, both. So absolutely, I think that's a good idea to have that. Now, that depends, though, because, again, in Stoughton, we were doing the downtown zoning, and there was an idea put out there that one of the density bonuses, or one of the incentives coming back to allow them to build an extra story in the town center area, was to require the developer to add affordable, rental units to that building. So in contacting town council to see if we could stipulate that those are over 55, you can't do that. They have to be open to families as well. So if people are comfortable with being, if people who are over 55 are comfortable being included with families, then that's fine. Yeah, absolutely, you can do that.
They make any progress in Stoughton in extending the sewer to some of the...
Yes. Actually, when I was there, I helped work on a MassWorks grant application. Are you talking down near Campanelli Park on Route 27? Yes, they got that. And that was actually under construction. So
I worked for a while on that. It was a woman, I'm trying to remember, who was very involved in that, trying to get it going.
Yeah. So yeah, that passed. And that actually is under construction and probably has been completed for a while. Yeah. And part of that application, and we actually worked with MAPC on some grants to do a zoning analysis of the Campanelli Commercial Park to tweak the zoning to allow more intense development on those sites now that they wouldn't have to worry about on-site
Are
septic.
they using any betterments to finance?
Yeah, they were using some betterments for sure, yeah. Yeah, they were using some of that.
But you had mentioned the state doesn't have a classification on ADUs for affordable.
No, there's no stipulation under the legislation that was passed that there's a required affordability component to it.
Is there a way for the town to classify them as affordable?
And I was thinking about that. That's a good question.
They can't exceed 900 square feet. I see them being very affordable.
Potentially.
Correct.
Potentially.
Yes.
But yeah, that's something that we could definitely look into. That's something that I haven't looked into yet, but I could. Absolutely.
I think we have one of the better community economic development group between Bob and you now.
Yeah, I'm excited to get going. I'm excited to work with Bob and Ken and Jen. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The crew.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, everyone's been great, and, I was saying I was bringing in the last of my HR paperwork the other day, and I was walking out to my car, and Jen was walking in, and she told me, she goes, I'm going to have everything organized for you on your first day. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that may be organized. Your desk might not be after.
Yeah.
It is a busy office, and very excited to see what you're
I
able to
heard a
do.
saying years ago, a clean desk is the sign of an idle mind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's good. Anything else for John, other than welcomes?
Welcome aboard. I got good vibes.
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, he's gonna,
thank you. I'm excited to get started, so Thursday I'll start.
cool. All right,
Excellent.
good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just one more follow-up thing. I think the town administrator is looking for just a supportive vote from us on this appointment.
So to that end, we have this conversation every time I make an appointment, so I'm just going to repeat what I've said before, which is that this is entirely the choice of the board. The appointment becomes effective tomorrow, with or without your positive vote. The check and balance that was written into the special act was if the town administrator were to appoint somebody you really didn't want in a role, police chief or fire chief especially, then you could have a negative vote, and I would have to start the appointment process again. Having said that, I have asked you in the past to ratify my appointments because it's a welcoming message to the incoming professional. And I've thought about whether, if I were a selectman, whether I'd want to own somebody else's appointment decision, because not all of you were able to participate in the interview process. So I would hope that no offense would be taken if you decided not to have a vote. Where I would ask you to consider is that we're hiring a lateral hire. So this is not this professional's first rodeo, and could have stayed where he was and continued to function very well there. And with that decision, we're not rolling the dice on someone who hasn't done the job before or who has narrow experience. We're hiring an experienced director. So I leave you with those thoughts, and you can do as you choose to. Ultimately, I am accountable for John's performance. So you evaluate me in public, so he can have at it.
So it's your fault.
It'll be my fault.
Motion. I make a motion to support the town administrator's appointment of John Charbonneau as the Community Development Director.
Second.
Made by Mike, seconded by, we'll use this opportunity, Ross, in my chairman's announcements, I should have wished you a happy birthday. I did not, however.
Oh, man.
I will,
Here we go.
Oh, we're going to put butter on your nose.
I will grant you have given the second on
Well,
that.
thank you very much.
Perpetually for the meeting.
Sounds good. Streamlined. The motion's been made by Mike, seconded by Ross. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank
There
you.
you have it.
And Tim, what you said at the beginning about a rigorous interview process, I was actually very glad to go through that process because I got to be interviewed and questioned by the people I'll be working with. So it helps me to know that my hiring is being supported and has the support of the team. That makes things a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
So,
You walk confidently in here. You do have the support, and
Great.
it's up to you to keep it.
Yes. Thank you.
Blank slate. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, moving back to item number 7, an old name is resurfaced. I was thrilled to see this, but Sean Holland, at least initially, was looking to get back on the ZBA as an alternate. Sean has served the town a number of years, and served it well.
I served with Sean on ZBA and on building and facilities for a number of years. He was always a good member. He showed up prepared. Then COVID happened. And things changed for him personally. And now he's looking to get back on. I would support his reappointment as an alternate.
I see in our memo it's for a 3-year term. Aren't we redoing these by June, these appointments?
Well, they are up,
Yeah.
So we would appoint them tonight and then.
Well, I don't know if we're just doing too much by
Yeah, but he went.
3 years.
Oh, yeah.
If you're what? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I don't know if we're pigeonholing him into a 3-year term, but when we haven't really looked at the overall committee structure that we're going to look at in June.
There's only one up for renewal on ZBA right now. And the other alternate spot has been vacant. for a
Right.
while.
Who is the one up?
Palmer?
Yeah, I think Jim
Okay.
Palmer's up. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have Sean proposed here, ZBA alternate for 3 years. Did you make that motion?
Yeah, I made a motion.
Mike made a motion,
Second.
seconded by Hal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you, Sean. Item number 8 is a grant acceptance amendment for the fire department EMPG. And this is ballistic gear, if anyone wanted to know what BG was. $2,900 provided by the state, submitted by the fire chief.
I'll make a motion to accept the grant amendment for ballistic gear in the amount of $2,900.
Made by Ross,
Second.
seconded by Hal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Accepted. Oh, I lost my way. Matt, item number 9, interdepartmental transfer. We did get this earlier today, and it is in our packets, but paint this picture.
Yeah, I'll do my best to be concise. First and foremost, for folks keeping score at home, this is an interdepartmental transfer within the existing budget. So this money has already been raised and appropriated. It is not an additional amount to the budget. It is money that's not going to be spent in one department before June 30, being moved to a department that needs to spend it before June 30. So that's what that interdepartmental transfer is, the mechanism we use after the last special. So we had a special town meeting in May before the annual, and that was our last attempt, our last ability to have town meeting do the cleanup. There is still a statutory method for addressing expenses after the last town meeting of the fiscal year, and that's an interdepartmental transfer, or in some cases, the Finance Committee could use their reserve fund. But we're going to try to stay within the budget, not touch the reserve fund for this expense. So how much we're moving, just about $23,500 from public building maintenance salaries, which is an unfilled position, and moving it over to information technology expenses. This is a phone project, and this is why I'm trying to be concise. We moved from a more or less traditional analog phone system to telephones over the internet, which are called Voice over Internet Protocol, VoIP phones, with ARPA funding, with an outfit known as Granite Telecommunications. The largest part of that expense was the equipment, the phones that sit on people's desks and have all the functionality of voicemail and caller ID and all these other things, no longer provided as a telephone service, provided as an internet service. And we pay a monthly bill to Granite that is basically driven by usage. So we used ARPA money to buy the phones, and now we pay them a per minute cost for usage. We determined after doing an audit of the system, actually I'm not entirely sure how this came up, but we determined after investigation that the Granite system was not conveying legally required 911 location identification information when a call was placed from certain parts of town buildings. That cannot continue. So I sent a notice of breach of contract to Granite and gave them ample time to make adjustments to their system to program their phones so that they would relay the proper location information to the 911 position when a call was made from the building. Granite was unable to satisfactorily correct the problem. In fact, they made some lame attempts. There was some offshoring. We had folks in South Asia trying to help us fix phones here. We determined again after further investigation that this is a field in a database, and somebody just needs to sit down and type in the location information so that those characters are sent with the code for a call to the 911 desk. But we cannot access Granite's database. It's not part of our contract with them. So we reached an impasse where they were in breach. We're breaking the law, running the system the way we were running it. So we went out to bid on the statewide contract list to replace Granite Telecommunications with Zoom. Zoom phones are very common now. They are a popular product. Zoom obviously developed a lot of technology during COVID. They became the carrier of choice for a lot of people for teleconferencing like we're using right now, but they also got themselves into the telephony business because there's basically it's voice over internet. The timing was going to be such that we got 6 free months of Zoom, and we were going to migrate from Granite to Zoom, get 6 free months of Zoom, and the cost of the installation by Zoom would be covered by the money we did not spend because those 6 months were free. The contractor that Zoom assigned to do the work here failed, and we got very concerned. We had meetings with them, and it was pretty clear that they did not have a good grasp of the technology, and we just didn't feel comfortable going forward with them. We felt like we were wasting a lot of money. But the clock was ticking on the Zoom license the whole time. So we reached the end of the 6 free months of Zoom without the system being fully built out. And then they quoted us this $23,000 fee to do the initial setup. So that's where we find ourselves. We need to pay for this. And the good news is the team from Zoom, so the Zoom actually just said, don't use our subcon, we'll just do it ourselves. So we're actually working with Zoom employees. They are fantastic. They're technically competent, and they are setting up, just as a reminder to everyone, we are unifying the phone system at the school department and the town into one Zoom license. So everybody will be able to call each other as an intercom extension of their phone. So it really makes it much more efficient, because up to this point, we've had to dial almost like an outside call to get, because we had 2 different licenses on the grant. So that's a long-winded, I tried to be concise, I did cut to the chase on it, but that's how we've ended up needing these funds.
How many
That-
phones between the town and the school do we have?
Oh, it's a couple hundred.
Yeah, close to 300.
Do we share this expense with the school? No.
It wasn't in their budget, and the way it came about, it wasn't something they were going to be able to help us with.
Just a question, Matt, that kind of sticks out. Says that SOW was generated on 3/19, and it's valid for 30 days from that point. You don't foresee a change in this pricing?
Did you say no?
There's
Oh,
been no change.
Then no change. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Microphones don't pick up nods. So, no.
Yeah. I was waiting with bated breath for the answer.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, it is what it is. Interdepartmental transfer. Take a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the interdepartmental transfer for the purpose of our SOW professional services for the phone system.
Second.
Works. Made by Ross, second by Hal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Item number 11 is the meeting minutes picked up today. First one's May 5. Short and sweet.
That was a full one.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the May 5th, 2025 meeting minutes, selectmen meeting minutes.
Motion's been made by Ross,
Second.
seconded by Mike. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Seeing none. Move on to May 6, a little longer. A motion on May 6,
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 6th as written.
made by Mike, seconded by Ross. All those in favor? Aye. Moving on, item number 12, with Les not being here, I probably just want to push this off a little bit, but back again are our operating policies and procedures. I reread this document again for this meeting, and yeah, I think it probably needs this board's touch on it a little bit. The outline to change this document is listed in section 3 of the document. So what I might do is have the board maybe consider ways in which we can strengthen it, and maybe in a meeting or two, we can bring up some of those proposals and then go through the process of entertaining adding this to what we commonly refer to as the operating policies and procedures document of the Board of Selectmen.
Anything in particular that you're concerned that's weak in this? Even the section number, it doesn't matter about the words, but any particular sections that you have concerns about?
I'm looking for a good, simple example.
As with our committee handbook, sometimes these things need to be updated, so.
Yeah.
If not, no big deal.
I think if we all read through it, we might all come up with
Yeah, yeah.
separate
No,
ideas.
I was just curious
Yep.
if,
Kind of
Would you
bang our
like
heads together on it.
June 3rd meeting or June 17th?
Probably 17. It's a simple summer meeting, we maybe have a discussion. Mike, to answer your question, I think it's something to talk about as to when people aren't at a meeting, it's always a question as to whether we, state the reason why or not. I think the individual should have the right to be, the message is to an absent, if someone's absent, they should have the right to, have that known at that meeting as to why they're there. That may frankly just be, maybe not even something that needs to be codified, but maybe put into practice. But that was one of my notes that I had there.
so if a member is at a meeting,
If someone is not at a meeting.
oh, not at a meeting,
Yeah,
oh,
and-
okay.
And, it's, not to pick on Les, but he's at a business meeting.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he wants me to tell people that he's at a business meeting, but I think the townspeople would like to know if that individual member wants to share why he or she is not at a meeting as to why it is. Again, that spitball, and that might not even be something that's needed in policy, that just might be a procedure step that we take amongst us all, but anyway, that was a random thought I had. Matt, municipal light plant discussion, I'm hoping, not to hide behind Ross's birthday, but hoping we can maybe gloss over that one as well today.
We're continuing to make progress. We've scheduled, or Bob is trying to schedule a meeting with some experts in the field.
Okay, cool. And your report?
I don't want to get in the way of Ross's cake, so, and it won't be here.
Right.
Because Les didn't bring one.
Because Les didn't bring one.
I don't know.
Good one.
Maybe they know something I don't.
He should have told us.
Well, that's what happens when you don't come to the meeting, and you get blamed for stuff, or appointed to things.
So some quick notes. We have an RFP in circulation to the Building Facilities Committee. I'm sure we'll discuss it tomorrow, which I think I'm going to end up zooming in tomorrow on that. So just a quick note. That a fair amount of work was put in. I think one or two members are going to have some edits, which I'm probably going to be more than happy to make. And then there will be the necessity of having the property appraised so that the RFP can be posted. We're looking to put off professional service fees for appraisals until after July 1st, so that the budget for next year would be the one in effect. We have paid for appraisals already this year, and I went to the conference for my profession for the second time in 8 years this year, so that money got spent, the education budget got spent for education and training. Next year, I have no interest at all in going, so there's money in the budget there that we can just move over to professional services, but we'll get the appraisals taken care of. For the 17 or so, 14 acres or so next to the cubes, and for Gleason, and any other item we might discuss later in executive session, we will handle those through the same firm and try to get them to be efficient, be here to spend the day in town and, not bill us for the travel and the travel time and all the rest of it. Looking forward to the budget for fiscal '27 already. we've got some hopes that the things that have to break our way for us to have a typically smooth budget process next year. What needs to break our way is we need to have the fully estimated number of students enrolled in Norfolk Aggie potentially be lower than what we estimated for budget purposes, because the students either didn't get admitted or have declined to enroll if they were admitted. It's a pretty big deal, the tuition per student basis, and it had gone up so much from the year before for fiscal '26 compared to fiscal '25, that if fiscal '26's number goes down, we have a slightly lower baseline going into fiscal '27, that will help. Another item that we're working on or paying close attention to for fiscal '27 is new growth. We need the projects to continue. So we're really looking for a tenant to go into the big warehouse and that the tangible tax would be assessed and come in as new growth for fiscal '27, because that would be a very important linchpin.
Personal
keeping us-
personal
the
tax,
personal
property
tax.
tax.
Tangible is, it's a Rhode Island thing, sorry. Personal property tax is how our assessor will assess it. The next item that we're hoping breaks our way is that our retirement assessment from Worcester Regional will continue on the path that it's been on. So it has gone up over the past several years, but the pace of its increase has slowed. And as long as we hold the same percentage increase year over year from 25 to 26, for 26 to 27, it'll free up some resources that we don't have. I'm hoping the school bus transportation at least comes in flat. After going up 23%, it would be nice to see a year where we're close to zero. And the last thing is health insurance. Right now, I've built in a second year of increase just because we're catching up with some of the underwriting that may or may not be needed. So I'm hoping it breaks our way. We are, through the end of March, Alliant estimates that we're running at about 107%, which is not great, but it's not terrible either. It's not, the sky isn't falling at 107. We've got 2 months of claims left. Our biggest claims have now passed the stop-loss attachment point. So if we have anybody who's really sick, will be reimbursed for their claims for the end of the year because they've already passed the point at which that we insure them. So when we take those things into consideration, when pharmacy rebates, our hope is, Chris feels like we're going to end up right around 107 to close the year. I'm somewhat more optimistic than him, hoping we'll be closer to 100, which is not a bad place for us to end the year. It means we paid the rate. We'll have to increase the following year, but maybe not as much as we would if we were in deficit. So that's my preliminary view of next year's budget. We have built in a fairly substantial and rigorous pace for the Douglas Public Schools to keep up with their expenses. So another year, right now I'm projecting for fiscal '27 another year of 4%, which is really where they need to be to honor their contractual agreements without having layoffs. So, when I look around the Commonwealth, I see a rather large number of overrides proposed this year and a number of places where there's been a significant budget impasse. Because of some of the same issues that we're dealing with, they're just not in the same position of fiscal strength getting into the conversation. So Northbridge in particular is having a very significant override conversation, and I hope never to have to get there, that we've buttoned ourselves up to be prepared for some of these bumps, and we won't have to do that. But that's a quick update on budget conversation. So what we'll be turning our attention to, 2 last quick notes. One is we are approaching the end of the fiscal year. So we have a use it or lose it policy for vacation time for our senior, our management level staff, really for everybody, but it's the management level staff that tend to accrue a lot of time and have a lot of time left in the last 5 or 6 weeks of the year. So there'll be some, substantial office closures and vacancies in the first couple weeks of June, last couple weeks of May, first couple weeks of June. Once we head towards the end of June, that'll stop because we're going to close books. So now we're going to catch up with all the invoices and make all of our encumbrances, and we'll be right back into the thick of things because the audit process will start after we close books. About a month after we close books, the audit process starts. So this is a narrow window in which people who have a lot of time need to try to use it. So I'm pretty sure our office will be closed tomorrow, but we'll be open on Thursday. And then the following week, I'll plan myself to be here most of the week, but after Memorial Day, we're closed, Town Hall is closed all day Friday, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, so that folks might want to get used to that. Okay, quick reminder there. And so the only other thing is been diligently banging away at and trying to make progress on the evaluation rubric for department heads. Because I want to be very thoughtful and methodical about how we went about building the scoring system. And hiring a new community development director helped there. Getting Lisa's process underway helped start the process as well. So even though it is not a bylaw and is not necessarily a policy that needs to be approved by the select board, I'm still going to bring it to you for conversation. So, the more the merrier in terms of eyes and brains, looking at a system, just putting yourself in the shoes of some of these department heads, would you want to be evaluated on the basis that I've laid out? Because I'll be open to any and all suggestions for edits. And then as we head through the summer and the fall, we'll actually start applying the rubric in a methodical way so that we're getting everybody taken care of. So if we go into the budget process, we know what we've got for proposed salaries. Okay? That's all I have for you tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anything not reasonably anticipated 48 hours before tonight's meeting?
I do have something,
Ooh,
Mr. Chair.
Curveball, go ahead.
Knuckleball, curveball, an e-fist even, maybe?
Yeah.
It was brought to my attention by my work study student, and I went up and looked at the flag outside of the high school is pretty tattered.
Somewhat
Again,
shredded.
It is. And I had noticed it town meeting night. Didn't really say much, but now where a student has brought it to my attention, and we have Memorial Day weekend coming up, we have graduation coming up, and we do have a flag policy. I don't know who to speak with or what we should do, but I would like to see a new flag on that pole before the weekend.
Tomorrow, yeah.
It was 2 years ago, May 26th, that Ross and I went down and rebuilt that flagpole.
Fixed the flagpole and hung a new flag. So it's kind of a...
Would you use a bigger flag?
The flag, the size of it is fine.
You can't, the pole will only allow you to put
Yeah.
up to a 3x5 flag on it.
But-
Otherwise, it'll look like the one down on 146.
Yeah. But the
Yeah,
flag
crane out there
pretty
the other day.
weathered. And
Yeah.
it's kind of got some meaning, especially with the weekend coming up, that why we fly the flag in the first place.
On housekeeping measures, somebody, constituent suggested that the suggestion depository be moved next to the road so somebody's handicapped could drive up and potentially use it. Minor thing, but seems to make some sense. Is that the clerk's jurisdiction or, no?
It's yours, really.
Okay.
So, say, make it
We'll see,
so.
I make it happen.
Mix up a little bag of cement and get at it, hell.
End up submitting myself to it.
Yeah.
So, in my mind, highways probably got flags, but frankly, the schools should be in charge of their flags, is my thought. Can we tickle them tomorrow and,
Reach out to Paul.
and because that's important, 100%. I know the highway will.
It was like that on town meeting, it hasn't changed. Ross checked it on the way in.
Yeah.
And I'll be checking every morning on my way in and on my way home from work.
You sent me a picture of it this morning.
Well,
I did.
I'm almost ready to go put the flag up myself, so.
we're floating year over year, 4% increases.
just
Let's get a
brought to
flag.
Yeah.
I didn't check the others, honestly, but
So
it's only because that was brought to my attention, so.
we've still got a project, Mr. Chairman, to get Memorial Day back. And it has been organized for many years by the veterans group in town and leading members of that organization. And as they have aged and passed on, we don't have the same organizational oomph behind it. It is one of the nicer traditions in town to visit all the cemeteries and acknowledge the sacrifice and play taps and have a small parade. And we really do have to bring that back and use all of our energy to bring it back.
I believe the band.
The band is doing it.
They
Yeah.
do have
To
plans.
visit the memorials this weekend.
So it's good they're keeping that up, but it's not the same, it's just isn't the same that it was.
I agree.
Memorial Day, I know the members of the board know it, but I'll say it for the sake of history or the record, is a solemn recognition of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in wartime. And the incredible sadness that accompanies that for the families. And so that day was instituted to recognize forever those losses. I was thinking today sometimes about the Civil War is really what generated this conversation about Memorial Day. And at the time, they didn't have antibiotics. So if you were injured on the battlefield
Yeah, more people.
with some of those massive ordnance they used to launch at each other on Civil War battlefields, amputation was usually the only solution, and then you did that with cauterization and no antibiotics, and hope that you didn't get an infection. Antibiotics weren't used in wartime until after penicillin was invented in 1928. A lot of times we see these movies and we kind of glorify the, people running around bleeding. That was a really bad thing, to be down in a trench full of dirt bleeding. There's a good chance you get an infection that would kill you. So the flag protocol for Memorial Day is that the flag is flown at half-staff until noon, and then it is raised to full staff. It's one of the only days when we do that dip of the flag and bring it back up to the top. But I miss coming up for that. I'm glad to hear the band is going to do it, but Zifkak and
Tatro.
Ernie.
Yeah, Ron Tatro.
And others that really led that effort for a long time.
Yeah.
And aren't as involved as they used to be, and it's a shame. So it's up to us, the living, to remember those who did.
Here, here.
Agreed.
Item 16, executive session. Are we doing these three?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll make a motion to enter executive session. A, interest in real property, strategy for highway barn land. B, potential litigation with MSHG and Shore Road. And C, contract negotiations and review for our executive assistant, Lisa.
Second.
Oh, and then to reconvene into open session for cake and ice cream.
Amend my second.
Adjournment.
I got my hopes up. Ice cream?
Wonderful motion made by Ross and seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Smith, aye.
Davis, aye.
Bone and I.
Patrick, aye.
Good evening, everyone, and happy birthday, Ross.